The winter of 1855 was particularly harsh in Victorian England. As January gave way to February, the people of Devonshire huddled in their homes, seeking warmth from the bitter cold that swept across the countryside. These were superstitious times when people still believed in creatures that lurked in the shadows, in forces beyond human understanding. But even the most superstitious soul couldn't have predicted what would be discovered on that cold February morning. A discovery that would make headlines across England, baffle scientists for generations, and leave an entire region questioning everything they thought they knew about the world around them. Before we delve into the events of that fateful morning, we need to understand Devonshire in 1855. This wasn't just any rural region. It was a place steeped in folklore and legend. The locals spoke in hushed whispers about the pixies that danced on the moors, the phantom hounds that howled in the night, and the ancient spirits that dwelled in the rolling hills. But none of these tales could prepare them for what was coming. February 8th began like any other winter day. The previous night had brought a fresh snowfall, coating the landscape in an untouched blanket of white. In those days, before cars and streetlights, before the constant buzz of modern life, snow had a way of muffling the world, creating an almost supernatural silence. The first person to notice something was wrong was a baker in Topsham. He had risen early, as bakers do, to prepare the day's bread. As he stepped out into the pre-dawn darkness, his lantern illuminated something strange in the snow. Footprints. But these weren't the footprints of a late-night wanderer. These weren't the tracks of any animal he recognized. What he saw made him question his own sanity. The prints were distinctive, each one clearly marked in the fresh snow, about 4 inches long and 3 inches wide. They resembled hoof prints, but not those of a horse or deer. These were different. They appeared to have been made by something with cloven hooves, like a devil from a medieval manuscript. But it wasn't the shape of the prints that was most disturbing. It was their pattern. They formed a single line, each print exactly 8 inches apart, not meandering like an animal would walk. A straight line of perfectly spaced, identical marks in the snow. The baker might have dismissed it as a curious anomaly, except for one detail that made his blood run cold. The tracks led directly to his door, paused, then continued on their way. As dawn broke across Devon, similar reports began pouring in. The tracks weren't just in Topsham, they were everywhere. Dawlish, Teignmouth, Totnes. Village after village reported the same mysterious prints. But here's where the story takes a turn. From curious to impossible. The tracks didn't stop at walls. They didn't go around obstacles. They went straight up. Vertical walls, 14 feet high. The prints appeared on one side, continued up the wall, and emerged on the other side, continuing their relentless march across the countryside. They crossed rooftops as easily as they crossed fields. They appeared in enclosed courtyards, spaces completely surrounded by walls, with no way in or out, just pristine snow marked by those same methodical footprints. In some places, the tracks disappeared into small drain pipes, only to emerge on the other side, completely unchanged. Pipes barely large enough for a rabbit, yet whatever made these prints pass through them without breaking stride. The River Exe, a significant waterway that cuts through Devon, proved no obstacle. the tracks would disappear at one bank and resume at exactly the same spacing on the other side, as if whatever made them had simply walked across the water. As news spread, panic began to grip the region. The more superstitious residents were convinced that Satan himself had walked among their homes while they slept. Others, trying to maintain rationality, searched desperately for a natural explanation. Sir Walter Carew, a local squire, organized hunting parties. Armed men spread out across the countryside, following the tracks, looking for any sign of what could have made them. But they found nothing. No creature, no explanation. Just miles and miles of those perfect methodical prints. But here's where the story takes an even darker turn. As authorities investigated, patterns began to emerge. The tracks didn't appear random. They seemed to have purpose. They would deviate from their straight path to visit specific houses, stopping at doors and windows before continuing their journey. Some residents reported strange sounds from the night before, an eerie whistling, a metallic clicking. Others spoke of their animals acting strangely, horses kicking in their stables, dogs howling without cause, birds falling silent in their cages. The mystery deepened when reports came in from other parts of England. Similar tracks had been found in Hampshire, over 100 miles away. But that wasn't the most chilling discovery. At the exact same time, on the other side of Europe, identical prints were found in Poland. The same size, the same spacing, the same impossible pattern of movement. Over the years, scientists and skeptics have proposed numerous explanations. Some blamed escaped kangaroos from a private zoo, but kangaroos don't walk in single file, and they certainly can't climb vertical walls. Others suggested a balloon dragging a rope or chain, but no rope could leave such precise, hoof-like impressions, and no balloon could navigate through drain pipes or stop at specific houses. Wood mice, hopping in strange patterns. The prints were too large, too precise, and mice don't travel in straight lines for miles. A practical joke? The tracks covered over 40 miles in a single night, appearing simultaneously across a vast area. No human or group of humans could have created such an elaborate hoax in those conditions. But perhaps the most disturbing theory comes from an old document found in a Devon church archive years later. It spoke of similar tracks appearing in the same region in 1755, exactly 100 years earlier, and again in 1655. Some local historians have suggested a pattern, a visitation every century, like clockwork. If true, that would mean the next appearance would be due in 1955. And indeed, in February of that year, several residents of Devon reported strange prints in the snow. But by then, the area was more developed, the snow less pristine, and the reports were dismissed. Which brings us to the present day. As winter approaches each year in Devon, some still watch the snow with wary eyes. Because if the pattern holds true, whatever stalked through those towns on that cold February night might be due for another visit. The devil's footprints remain one of history's most baffling mysteries. We have the sworn testimonies of hundreds of witnesses, detailed police reports, newspaper accounts, and scientific investigations. Yet no one has ever provided a satisfactory explanation for what walked through Devon that night. Perhaps the real question isn't what made those prints, but why. Why did it visit certain houses? What was it looking for? And most importantly, if it returns again, will it still just leave footprints? Or is it building to something else? Something worse? The next time snow falls in Devon, remember this story. And if you hear something walking outside your window in the dead of night, whatever you do, don't look out to see what's making those prints in the snow, because it might be looking back.
This is Shaded Girl. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video.